present what is the final sewer rate study. I'm going to go through a progression for those in the audience, which is basically going to take us from the beginning of the process. And we're going to talk about the existing rates and the usage. We'll talk about how the usage was revised. We'll then get into projected revenues using the old rates with the revised usage. And then we'll talk about the new proposed rate structure, which is really what's driving the bus now. And then I'll go through some slides and we'll talk about the new rate and how that rate is being proposed to phase in over a 3-year period. And we'll talk about the results with the usage and the billings and how that all plays out with the dollars and cents, projected revenues, new rates, and what that really means when we look at it in total. I just think in total what you'll see is that the 3-year phase-in is going to be showing approximately a $630,000 total reduction in sewer user fees, which are going to be charged over that period of time, which will be collectively charged or respectively charged from the residential side as well as the commercial side, and how that breaks down, and how the variations have changed, and what the purpose of the report was. So that's just an overview. This report or this PowerPoint is supported by a sewer rate study. We had one done that was presented in May. It was presented May 23rd here, governing body for the public. And then we went back and did numerous variations of that particular report at that time. And the report that we supported by is dated September 27, 2019. And that is the final report. So if we start to flip through, as I said before, we're going to go through the progression here and lay out a timeline as to how this was developed and really what happens. We're going to start out, obviously, with all historical data, so that you can see that the historical data, the old rate and the old rates were residential, were being charged at $322 per quarterly flat fee. There was unlimited usage, and no excess. Commercial was being charged at $322 per EDU per quarter. They were allowed an EDU usage of the 22,000 gallons, and then they were paying an excess usage at a rate of $19.18 per 1,000 gallons. And that's just historical perspective. And this also is an historical perspective. So when we first started the process, we looked at the rates. We also then took a look at comparing rates, dollars billed, and usage. How did that all get done? What we did discover is that when we looked at the historical allocation, we saw, just as you can see here, that the percentage of usage by two categories of resident and commercial, comparing the billing percentages to the usage, there were variances. So you can see here that the residents were up 2%. Percentage of usage was only roughly 92 and change, and they were being billed at almost 95% of the total collection. So at that point, we obviously realized that there was a disparity between the two components. And then the mayor and council and the sewer committee charged us with going through and trying to determine, let's look at various components of various analysis and variations where we could come up with a plan that would alleviate the disparity. So the next slide starts to make that correction. And this is really from all the work that went in up front, where we started to look at water usage. And what was determined is that going through the water usage, a couple things were identified. One, in the water usage, there was a school which was no longer being used, and it didn't bill as part of the process, so we had a disparity there. We also had one particular user which had a large number or a large leak in the system. So that individual was being charged based upon water usage, and those adjustments had to be made on the commercial side. And so was the school. Schools also identified on the commercial side as well. And then we had some unmetered accounts that we had to identify. So after going back and looking at the existing components that are identified in a commercial mixed use, those corrections had to be made. So we had usage that was sitting in commercial mixed use where adjustments had to be made. After we make those adjustments, we correct the usage on that side. You can see now that the usage as it's restated and going to go forward for those modifications is going to be now the baseline. So we're looking at now, it's changed a little bit, where the residential still is a usage of 94.3 and paying to 95.7, and the commercial is 5.7 usage and only paying 4. So now we were trying to deal with the disparity of originally 2 and change. Now we're looking at 1.5. And that's what led us to the next component of the audit. What we did here is once we've now made the so-called correction to some of the usage accounts on the commercial side with the adjustment, we were able then to recast what we think the financial impact is going to be based upon the new usage numbers, keeping the rate, keeping everything else identical. Where are we going to be dollars and cents? How is that going to play out? This is detailed in our report and how we went through this, what was the thought process and the process as to the assumptions that we were making as we start to forecast this out. So 2018 is obviously actual data. And then 2019, obviously we're in it, so we have a pretty good handle on 19 because a lot of it was historical data. And then we had a forecast out 2021. So the biggest takeaways on this particular page is that, of course, the rents are going to be stable, same dollars to be raised. We went through and analyzed it with the CFO, all these various components, connection fees. I think we took this conservative route that we were no longer going to anticipate connection fees going forward. You know, the unexpended balance of the appropriation reserves, the municipal government, the budget lasts with a 2-year cycle. Those numbers were coming down because I think that the governing body has been doing a tighter job on the budget, and we know that there's less areas of excess in the budgeting process as we go forward. So that's why those numbers. And miscellaneous is just miscellaneous by looking at what we've seen in the past and what we expect to see. And then really on the expenditure side, without going crazy on the detail, I mean, generally speaking, operating, we're looking at roughly a 2% increase. We did some buys in the utilities. We did a little bit more on the health benefit side. The sewer rate charge was, I believe, at 7%. Capital outlay was an estimate. And this we went back and forth many times. We changed it many times. The $500,000 that's sitting in 2019, that's right out of the budget. And then going forward, that number was reduced to an estimated $150,000, and that's to maintain the system and to do improvements in the current system. Debt service is an actual component. This is nothing we were not projecting this. This is actual debt service as it's currently amortized. Deferred charges are just ERS and pension, some of those items that are in here. But the big thing in 2018 is that there was roughly the majority of that was the deferred charge that was being paid through the budget cycle. Any ordinance through the budget cycle. So really what this does is it basically said, okay, so now that we've adjusted those usage for the residents and we know what we're going to collect on the commercial, on the residential side, how does that play out as dollars? So really we're just, for this purpose, we're trying to forecast where fund balance is. We started with 3.5 million and we end all the way on the right on 3,280,000. So we have baseline data. And that baseline data now is used to go through and lay the groundwork as to what were some of the modifications in it. And so now we have some of the modifications. And this now is a byproduct of lots of hours, lots of meetings, lots of different conversations. The borough engineer was intimately involved in this process. Sewer committee, a lot of input, a lot of different conversations about how this was going to play out. Ultimately, this became the end result. So what we have is we have the residential structure will be assessed at 1 EDU. So there is no change from the old model to the new model as far as the rate structure itself. Still unlimited use on the residential. All of the changes really appear, most of the changes really appear on the commercial side of the ledger. So you can see each separately metered commercial account or unmetered commercial building structure serviced by wells will be assessed 1 EDU. So it's really a shift from buildings to now meters. The old system used to assess an EDU per building structure for the most part. Now it's been converted into looking at a building structure being assessed based upon meters. And we get into a little bit more of a detail here as to what that really means. So in a commercial mixed use, you can see you have 1 EDU, separately metered commercial accounts, plus we have 1 for each apartment of 2 or more bedrooms. And then if you have fewer than 1 bedroom or 1 bedroom with half of an EDU. Another big change here is that 1 EDU will be defined now as 10,950 gallons of water usage per quarter. The old was 22,000 gallons. So we have some major changes here that are being built into the rate structure. Let's talk a little bit what that means. So now we have a new proposed rate structure. And the proposed rate structure on the residential side is going to lower the EDU from the $322.5 to $300 per quarter. The usage will remain unchanged. There's no change. It's unlimited, as I said. And as I said in the beginning, that the plan here is to phase this in over a 3-year period to soften the increase as we see this as it plays out. So again, residential really is just going to be a drop of basically from $1,290 a year down to $1,200. The big change is going to be on the commercial side. So the commercial side, they were at the same EDU, the 322. They're now going to get lowered as well. They're going to get lowered to $300 per quarter per EDU. What's happening is now the usage allowance changes. There was 22,000 gallons per quarter. Now it's 10,950 per quarter. But the real difference here on this particular schedule is you'll see the excess usage charge per 1,000 gallons. It used to be under the old rate structure, $19.18. Now it's going to be $21.92 for 2020. It's going to go up to $24.66 in 2021. And finally, it's going to tap out at $27.40 in 2022. So the next slide, what did we accomplish by doing that? Well, we accomplished what we really set out to do. And that was to soften the variance, soften the allocation between which component was using water versus what they were actually paying. Now we're at a de minimis amount. It is 0.4%. We've now gone through the process where, based upon the new rate structure and the billing cycle, and you'll see as we go through the dollar components, that now we're being very equitable in that sense. So the percentage of water is actually kind of matching up to the billing percentage. And that was really the goal of the entire study. So now as we proceed further down the trail, now that we have new rate structure set, we've adjusted the usage charges, as I indicated before. How does this now play out on our projected revenues, expenses, and fund balance? So all the scenarios and all the assumptions on revenues and expenditures, nothing has changed. It's all constant, identical to the previous exhibit that I showed you before. The thing that you can see here now is that we have the rents and the projected rents increase, decrease. So what does this really show you? It shows you that in 2020, under this scenario, that we're actually going to reduce rents or collections of dollars of $220,000 based upon the implementation of this new rate structure. And as we go to 2021, you're going to have the compounding effect. So it's really going to be a minus 220 plus the 10. So it's really a minus $210,000 in 2021. And then it's going to be a minus $200,000 in 2022. So over that time period, based upon this, that the governing body now is going to reduce the total collections of sewer rents collectively, grand total, of roughly $630,000. So in essence, how do you do that? And we'll get to it at the very end. But really what you do is you wind up using cash on hand. And that was part of our other code. So I'm going to flip through. And just one more point, if I go back to that. You can see we started out with the $3 million on the left bottom fund balance at the end of the year, $3,520,000. Now, under this scenario, fund balance is coming down to $2,588,000. Okay, so now we'll talk about the rate impact. What does that really mean? So we're going to compare the existing to the proposed, and I kind of did that briefly before, but you can see that. So residential going from the 322 now down to 300. We're going to drop to $22 a quarter. Commercial, you can see the same thing as I said before. We went over all these numbers. We've got all these changes going on here. And the effective rates, as I said before, I kind of went over them. It was the 1918, and now it's going to go to the 2192, and you can see how that's going up each particular per thousand gallons. And that's just what it looks from a rate structure. But I think what's more important is let's talk about what does it really mean in dollars and cents. So the next slide is going to give you that perspective a little bit more in percentages side, and I'll also lay it out in dollars. So if we look at the residential side, as I indicated before, $322 existing versus now the proposed rates of $3. So the residential component, the residential bill, should see a reduction of 7% in 2020. And then that reduction will be stable. It will stay at that reduced number. As I said to you before, it's basically the difference between the 322 and the 300. So that's what we're going to see on the residential. The commercial side is going to see roughly, if you look at it this way, on the proposed rate, it's shown really a 58% rate increase and a 65 to 60. But in reality, that's not what's going to happen on their side. The residential side will clearly see a reduction of 7%. So as we talked about before, I had a roughly $220,000 reduction in total collections for 2020. And how does that get made up? So we know that we have a reduction on the residential side of 7%. So that 7% on the residential side really equates to $270,000 less that we're going to collect on the residential side. But yet I know I'm only showing a $220,000 total reduction in collection. So I've got to make up that roughly $50,000, and that $50,000 is going to be made up on the commercial. The commercial buildings are not nearly as large as the residential buildings. So they're roughly $49,000 if they're going to make up. They're going to have an actual increase in 2020, which is going to be roughly 29%. So they're going to be looking at roughly across the board, if you had to average it, a 29% increase on their bill in 2020. Residents will see a 7% reduction. Just to give you perspective of how many dollars we bill, on the residential side, we build $3.8 million comes to the residential side. The commercial side's only $171,000. That's the old rate. The new rate, we're going to drop our $3.8 million down to roughly $3.5 million. And on the commercial side, they're going to go from 171, they're going to go up to 220. So we'll see a 7% reduction in commercial and mixed use. We'll see a 29% increase. When they go forward, they'll in essence see a 5% increase in 2021 and a 5% increase in 2020. And there's one more slide, I believe. I kind of covered everything here, and this is just showing where the fund balance is. But I think what we're really showing you here is that obviously, as I said before, the fund balance now is dropping. So that right-hand column is the proposed rates. Left-hand is if we did nothing. So you can see that the difference between the December 31st, 2022, the $3,218,000 compared to the $2,588,000 in the proposed rate, will add by $630,000. That I just showed you how we collected it or reduced our revenue. We reduced it by the 220, 210. So that is the sewer rate study. Anybody have any questions about that?
I'll open it up.